The world's richest families were actually built on boring businesses, and that's the part nobody talks about. The fortune nobody notices. Imagine asking someone how the richest families in the world made their fortunes. Most people would probably answer with names like Apple, Tesla, Amazon, or Google. They picture groundbreaking inventions, futuristic technology, or charismatic CEOs standing on brightly lit stages unveiling the next big thing. But here's something surprising. Many of the world's wealthiest families didn't build their empires by creating exciting products or becoming internet celebrities. Instead, they quietly became billionaires by selling candy, moving grain, making pipes, producing soap, processing meat, manufacturing chemicals, or operating stores that most people visit without giving a second thought. These businesses rarely make headlines. Nobody waits in line overnight for a new bag of fertilizer. No one watches a live stream announcing a better chocolate recipe. And nobody brags about investing in industrial packaging at a dinner party. Yet these ordinary industries have quietly created some of the greatest fortunes in human history. While the world chased exciting ideas, these families mastered businesses that almost everyone else ignored. Because the truth is this: excitement attracts attention. Boring businesses attract cash flow. And over decades, steady cash flow often wins. Today, we'll uncover the surprising stories behind some of the richest families on Earth, reveal why seemingly dull industries create extraordinary wealth, and explain the hidden principle that almost every billionaire dynasty has quietly followed for generations. Because once you understand this pattern, you'll never look at boring businesses the same way again. Let's begin with a simple question. What actually makes a business valuable? Many people assume it's innovation. Others think it's popularity. Some believe it's having millions of followers or becoming the next viral startup. But investors usually care about something much simpler. Can the business generate reliable profits year after year? That's it. The less dramatic the answer, the more valuable the company often becomes. Think about electricity, water, food, packaging, cleaning supplies, transportation, agriculture. These industries don't disappear because trends change. People need them during economic booms. They need them during recessions. They even need them during wars and financial crises. Demand may fluctuate, but it rarely vanishes. That's exactly why many of the richest families focused on businesses people couldn't live without instead of products people simply wanted. And when a company keeps earning money for decades, those profits can be reinvested again and again. Over time, that creates something much more powerful than fast growth. It creates generational wealth. Consider the Mars family. Today, Mars Incorporated is one of the largest privately owned companies in the world. Most people know Mars because of M&Ms, Snickers, Twix, Milky Way, or Pedigree pet food. None of those products are considered revolutionary technology. They're familiar, predictable, and that's exactly the point. People continue buying chocolate regardless of whether the stock market is rising or falling. Pet owners continue feeding their animals regardless of the latest social media trend. These aren't one-time purchases. They're repeat purchases. Every day, every week, every month. That consistency has allowed the Mars family to quietly build an enormous fortune while avoiding the spotlight that surrounds many tech billionaires. In fact, many members of the family rarely give interviews or seek public attention. They don't need fame. Their business speaks for itself. Now think about something even less exciting. Grain, corn, soybeans, wheat. Not exactly the kind of products people dream about building a billion-dollar company around. Yet agriculture sits at the center of the global economy. Before restaurants can serve meals, before grocery stores can fill their shelves, before food manufacturers can produce snacks, someone has to buy, store, transport, process, and distribute enormous quantities of crops. That someone has often been Cargill. Founded in 1865, Cargill grew into one of the largest private companies in the world by doing something remarkably ordinary: moving agricultural products efficiently. No flashy product launches. No celebrity CEOs. No viral marketing campaigns. Just logistics, infrastructure, warehouses, shipping, risk management, and decades of disciplined execution. The family behind Cargill became one of the wealthiest in America by understanding a lesson many entrepreneurs overlook. Sometimes the biggest opportunity isn't creating the product. It's controlling the system that moves the product. Notice something interesting. None of these companies became successful overnight. Their fortunes weren't built in months, or even years. They were built over generations. That patience may be the biggest competitive advantage of all. Public companies often face pressure to impress investors every quarter. Private family businesses can think differently. Instead of asking, "How do we make more money this year?" they ask, "How do we build something our grandchildren will still own?" That single shift in perspective changes every decision. Instead of chasing trends, they improve operations. Instead of maximizing short-term profits, they strengthen long-term relationships. Instead of seeking attention, they quietly compound wealth. And while the media celebrates the newest startup, these businesses continue growing almost unnoticed. Because boring rarely goes viral. But boring often becomes incredibly profitable. In the next chapter, we'll explore the families behind Walmart, Koch Industries, and one of the most influential business empires you've probably never heard of, and discover why their greatest advantage wasn't innovation, but consistency. Quiet empires that changed the world. There's a reason these families rarely dominate headlines. Most people are naturally drawn to dramatic stories, visionary founders, revolutionary inventions, and overnight success. Those narratives are exciting. But wealth, especially generational wealth, is usually built on something much less dramatic. Consistency. Let's look at one of the most recognizable names in retail history, the Walton family. Today, millions of people visit Walmart every single day. For many, it's simply a place to buy groceries, household essentials, clothing, or electronics. It's ordinary, almost boring. But behind those automatic doors lies one of the greatest wealth-building machines ever created. When Sam Walton opened his first discount store in 1962, he wasn't trying to invent a futuristic product. His idea was surprisingly simple. Sell everyday products at lower prices than anyone else. That strategy sounds obvious now, but at the time it was revolutionary because of how relentlessly Walmart executed it. Instead of focusing on luxury items or high profit margins, the company concentrated on volume. If millions of customers saved just a few dollars on every shopping trip, they would keep coming back. Again, and again, and again. But Walmart's real advantage wasn't just low prices. It was logistics. Long before supply chains became a popular business topic, Walmart invested billions into warehouses, trucking fleets, inventory systems, and distribution centers. Customers saw neatly stocked shelves. Behind the scenes was one of the most sophisticated logistics networks on Earth. In business, whoever controls distribution often controls the market. Today, the Walton family remains one of the wealthiest families in the world, not because they invented a flashy product, but because they perfected the art of selling ordinary products more efficiently than anyone else. The Koch family. Now let's move to an industry that almost nobody dreams about as a child. Industrial manufacturing. Pipelines. Chemicals. Refining. Paper products. Fertilizers. Building materials. It doesn't sound glamorous. In fact, many people couldn't even explain what Koch Industries actually does. And that's exactly why it's so fascinating. Koch Industries quietly became one of the largest privately owned companies in the world by operating behind the scenes. Its businesses touch countless products people use every day without realizing it. The paper towel in a kitchen. Materials inside homes. Packaging for consumer goods. Industrial chemicals used in manufacturing. Fuel transported across the country. The average consumer rarely notices these products, but entire industries depend on them. This highlights another pattern among billionaire families. They don't always sell directly to consumers. Sometimes they make money by serving the businesses that serve consumers. Economists call this business to business or B2B. It's not exciting. It rarely trends on social media. But it can be incredibly profitable because companies need reliable suppliers year after year. When your customers are businesses instead of individuals, relationships often last decades. That's exactly the kind of stability these families value. S.C. Johnson. Now think about your own home. There's a good chance you've used products made by S.C. Johnson without ever thinking about who owns the company. Cleaning sprays, furniture polish, air fresheners, storage bags, bug repellents. These aren't products people line up to buy at midnight. They're products people replace because they run out. That's an important difference. Recurring demand creates recurring revenue. The Johnson family understood something many entrepreneurs overlook. If a household needs your product every month, you don't have to convince customers to reinvent their lives. You simply have to keep solving the same everyday problem. When millions of households do that repeatedly over decades, the numbers become extraordinary. Sometimes the most valuable business isn't changing the world. It's becoming part of people's daily routine. The hidden power of boring. At this point, a pattern should be becoming clear. These companies operate in industries that many ambitious entrepreneurs ignore. Retail, agriculture, manufacturing, cleaning products, packaging, transportation, food, industrial services. None of them sound particularly exciting. Yet together, they represent trillions of dollars in economic activity. Why? Because the world depends on them. Technology changes every few years. Fashion trends come and go. Social media platforms rise and fall. But people will always need food. They'll always need clean homes. They'll always need transportation. They'll always need stores. The richest families didn't build businesses around temporary trends. They built businesses around permanent human needs. That's a completely different strategy. Why they stay private. Another fascinating pattern is that many of these companies are privately owned. Why does that matter? Public companies answer to shareholders every quarter. Every 3 months, investors expect growth. Executives feel pressure to hit targets. Private family businesses operate differently. They can invest in projects that may not pay off for 10 or even 20 years. They don't have to impress Wall Street every quarter. Instead, they ask a different question. Will this decision make the company stronger for the next generation? That mindset changes everything. Instead of maximizing today's profit, they build systems that can survive tomorrow's challenges. Instead of chasing headlines, they focus on durability. Instead of becoming famous, they become indispensable. And over time, that patience compounds into extraordinary wealth. The compounding effect. Albert Einstein reportedly called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. Whether or not he actually said it, the principle is undeniably powerful. Most people think of compounding only in terms of investing. But businesses compound too. Every satisfied customer increases the chance of another purchase. Every efficient warehouse reduces future costs. Every long-term supplier relationship strengthens the business. Every improvement makes the next improvement easier. After 10 years, the difference is noticeable. After 50 years, it's enormous. After 100 years, you've built an empire. The world's richest families weren't necessarily smarter than everyone else. They simply played a different game. While others searched for the next big thing, they quietly improved businesses that already mattered. And that difference made all the difference. In the final chapter, we'll uncover what these families all have in common, why boring businesses continue to outperform exciting startups, and the surprising lesson anyone can apply, whether they're starting a company, investing for the future, or simply trying to understand how real wealth is built. The real secret behind billionaire dynasties. By now, a pattern has emerged. The world's richest families didn't build fortunes by chasing whatever was exciting at the moment. Instead, they focused on businesses that people rely on every day. They sold products that needed replacing. They built infrastructure that kept industries moving. They solved problems that never truly disappear. And perhaps most importantly, they played the long game. Let's look at one final example. The Ferrero family. Walk through almost any supermarket in Europe, Asia, or the Americas, and you'll likely find products made by Ferrero. Nutella, Ferrero Rocher, Kinder, Tic Tac. They're familiar brands, but behind them is one of the world's largest privately owned confectionery companies. Ferrero didn't become a global giant overnight. The company spent decades expanding carefully into new markets, protecting its reputation for quality, and investing heavily in manufacturing and distribution. Instead of trying to launch hundreds of new products every year, it focused on making a handful of products that customers would buy again and again. That's another lesson these families understand. One product purchased 1 billion times is often more valuable than 1,000 products purchased once. Repeat customers are the foundation of lasting wealth. A name that changed finance. No discussion of wealthy families would be complete without mentioning the Rothschild family. Although their influence has often been exaggerated in myths and conspiracy theories, the historical reality is remarkable enough. Beginning in the late 18th century, the Rothschilds built an international banking network across several European countries. At a time when communication was slow and financial systems were fragmented, they developed trusted relationships, moved capital across borders, and financed governments, railways, and major infrastructure projects. Their advantage wasn't magic. It wasn't secrecy. It was organization, trust, and information. They understood that controlling the flow of money could be just as valuable as producing physical goods. Their story reminds us that some of the greatest fortunes are built not by making headlines, but by becoming essential to how the economy functions. What these families have in common. Whether it's Mars, Walmart, Cargill, Koch Industries, Ferrero, or the Rothschild banking empire, their industries may look completely different. But the underlying principles are surprisingly similar. They focused on products and services with steady demand. They invested in systems instead of shortcuts. They prioritized reputation over publicity. They reinvested profits instead of spending them. They expanded patiently rather than chasing rapid growth at any cost. And, perhaps most importantly, they thought in decades, not quarters. In a world obsessed with instant success, they embraced delayed gratification. Why most people miss the opportunity. Human psychology naturally gravitates toward exciting stories. A startup that grows from a garage into a billion-dollar company captures attention. A revolutionary new app spreads across social media in days. Artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and cutting-edge technology dominate headlines. There's nothing wrong with innovation. Many groundbreaking companies create enormous value. But headlines can create a dangerous illusion. They make it seem as though wealth only comes from discovering the next revolutionary idea. History tells a different story. Some of the largest fortunes have been built by improving businesses that already existed, not by inventing entirely new industries. The entrepreneur who builds a better logistics network. The manufacturer who reduces costs by 5%. The distributor who delivers products more reliably. The retailer who earns customer trust year after year. These achievements rarely become viral stories, but they often create extraordinary businesses. The power of compounding. Imagine two entrepreneurs. The first spends every year chasing the newest trend. Each time a market becomes crowded, they move on to something else. The second spends 20 years mastering a single industry. They learn every detail. They improve operations. They strengthen customer relationships. They reinvest profits. They become more efficient every year. At first, the first entrepreneur appears more exciting. But after 2 decades, the second entrepreneur often owns the stronger business. Compounding rewards consistency. Every small improvement builds on the last. Every satisfied customer increases trust. Every process becomes more efficient. Eventually, the gap becomes impossible to ignore. That's how ordinary businesses quietly become extraordinary fortunes. The lesson for everyone. You don't need to inherit a billion-dollar company to learn from these families. The lesson isn't to start a chocolate company or a retail chain. The lesson is to recognize where lasting value comes from. Real wealth is rarely built by chasing attention. It's built by solving real problems consistently. Whether you're starting a business, investing in companies, or choosing a career, ask yourself one question. Will people still need this 10 years from now? If the answer is yes, you're already thinking differently than most. The companies that survive generations are often the ones solving timeless problems. And timeless problems create timeless opportunities. Final thoughts. The next time you hear about the world's richest families, don't picture only Silicon Valley founders unveiling futuristic technology. Picture warehouses filled with grain, factories producing household products, truck fleets delivering goods across continents, chocolate bars on grocery store shelves, cleaning supplies under kitchen sinks, discount stores serving millions of customers every week. These businesses don't dominate social media. They don't generate viral headlines. Most people hardly notice them at all. Yet behind these ordinary products are some of the most valuable companies ever built. Because while the world was searching for excitement, these families were quietly building systems. While others chased trends, they mastered consistency. While attention shifted from one innovation to another, they kept serving needs that never disappeared. And that's the part nobody talks about. The greatest fortunes in history weren't always built on glamorous ideas. More often than not, they were built on businesses so ordinary that everyone else overlooked them. Sometimes, the most powerful opportunity isn't hidden. It's simply ignored. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this documentary and want more stories about the hidden strategies behind history's greatest fortunes, be sure to subscribe and join us for the next episode. Because the biggest lessons in business are often found in the places nobody thinks to look.